Well, hello everyone. This is Dr. Eileen Anderson Voices. I'm a couple of minutes late. Technology was not working as well as it could have been. I'm not totally positive that the video or the audio I'm watching uh, the live stream, and it doesn't look like it's kicking in. So hold on a second. Let me see if well, it's showing sound? Well, let's see if this is working. Load. I don't know if you can hear me. Um, the entire just not cooperating. Hang in there. Hold on. Okay, so it looks like something's going on, but I'm not sure. So, I guess, and we have audio. All right. So I can't see really what's going on. So, um, okay. So, all right. Well, we're going to continue. So, hi. Maybe it's a hot weather. Maybe it's whatever. But thank you for joining me. A little bit laggy. My apologies. So, yeah, compassion, and first is having compassion for you go right. I am a very on things going right, and it buttons when they don't. So maybe that's why this is happening. So we're going to carry on. Hi, to welcome to today's episode. Today's, and it's really weird talking and the image of myself. So I just hope that it is working out okay. I'm kind of ballparking whether or not I'm even centered in the frame. But anyway, enough of that. So, so putting passion, getting a passion back for your compassion. And there's been a lot of talk lately about compassion and civility. And compassion is not something that you have to have in order to, it doesn't mean that you agree with somebody all the time. It doesn't mean that you somebody embrace. I don't know. It looks. I am really not sure about how this is going, but the sound is going, so we will figure it out. We'll carry on. Actually, you know what? I'm going to suspend. We're gonna broadcast this at 3 o'clock. We're gonna figure this out because this is not working right, or maybe I'll start it at 2:30. So for those of you who have logged in, thank you. And if you can see me, great. But the issues that I'm having here are just not working. So um, hang in there, and I will be back at, like maybe hopefully I can get this thing back up on. Wait a minute, turn camera. Hopefully I can get this thing up and going. Oh, wait a minute. It looks like it might be, or maybe not. All right. I will log back in and we'll see what we can do to get this straightened out. So patience, and I'll see you in a little bit. Oh, and it comes up immediately. Wow, have you ever had one of those days? Because I'm looking at my phone and wow, glasses. Let's talk. I mean, just talk. obviously the technology is going to do weird stuff today. I don't know why. What I wanted to get across was that we all have an inherent humanity, and we all have light and shadow, light and shadow. It doesn't make it good or bad. It's so that we need to be able to accept it, to accept that we're not always going to agree. And the idea is that if we can be driving down the street and see somebody whose car is off by the side of the road and they're waving, trying to wave somebody down to help them. The decision whether or not you pull over and help them should not be based whether or not you like the bumper sticker on the back of their car. You're going to be the one off by the side of the road. Standing in judgment of one another, of standing in judgment of these political views are. Because all it is attaching one story to another, and that doesn't help. And recently in my life, I've had a situation where had a really opposing viewpoint to me, and I was okay with it, but they made some choices to just like go out and say some really negative things and express some really negative things. And, I mean, it happens. People say things that they maybe wish they didn't or that they shouldn't, expressing themselves. That's them doing whatever it is that they need to do. I'm not the type of person, who really wants to spend a lot of time dealing with, well, why would they say that? That's when I've got to go into my place of compassion and say, you know what? Everybody's doing the best they can with the tools they have, and nothing demonstrated today where I'm doing the best I can with the tools I have. Hopefully it'll work. Hopefully it won't be too much of a mess. So live streams tend to go, it's kind of a catch thing whether or not what we intend to do. But it made a very vulnerable moment, and that's okay. Okay with that. And I've learned not to be so upset when things don't work out. I mean, it still upsets me a little bit, but not as much as it used to, because I learned to have compassion. I learned to appreciate that I'm doing the best I can. I think when people learn that, when people accept that they're doing the best they can, then it makes it a lot easier to accept somebody else doing the best that they can. It means that we find a way to find the humanity in each other. And this is a time when we have a lot of people, and everybody is holding, tight with both hands to one of us, and be them. Everybody's right and everybody's wrong. Somewhere in between everything. And if we can find a way to communicate with each other, to talk with each other, it's okay that we feel different about some things, but let's see if we can figure out the things that we do about, or at least we're close enough to the same. That place within you where you consider that the person who just cut you off may have been going to an emergency. Maybe they're scared, and yes, they should be driving more carefully, but maybe it wasn't about you. Maybe it was about, ruining your day. Is when we can step out of that place of judgment and maybe there's a reason that they act the way they did or that they did what they did. Maybe it's not so cut and not so black and white. And maybe I don't have all the information. Compassion has a price. The price of compassion is you got to give up the attachment to being able to judge, to determine, wow, this person is just, they're not doing what they should be doing. Well, what they should be doing, but maybe they're doing the best they can. Maybe if someone is not moving as fast as you would like, maybe it's somebody serving you, or they're not paying as close attention. Well, maybe they were up all night with a sick child, or maybe they just started the job and it got dumped on them and they're trying to figure out how to get everything done. Maybe they're just having a bad day. Or maybe the thing is, you don't know which one of those is true. None of us knows which one of those is true when we're dealing with somebody. When we're dealing with people, anything going on. I mean, who's fighting depression? Maybe you're dealing with somebody is going through some really deep personal stuff. Somebody who's totally self-centered. You don't know which one. And the thing is, they're also wondering who they're dealing with. They don't realize that maybe you were up all night with a sick child. Maybe they don't realize that, you're in a rush because you just started a job and you're feeling overwhelmed by it. And there's a lot of pressure to start off with. A moment and consider, wow, maybe somebody else could be having it. Or maybe somebody could be as scared as I am. Or maybe somebody could be as unsure as I am. Then we can start those steps to be able to figure out a way that we can start talking with each other and not at each other. Find the possibility that we have more in common than we think. And yes, I know that there are always those exceptions. Well, what about this type of person? What about this type of person? What about this type of person? Yes, there are some truly horrible people in the world. I know that. Yes, if somebody is doing a horrible thing, yeah, okay, you can still have compassion and you can still want to see them locked up. Because as long as you can grant them their humanity. See, because part of the problem is that to forget that we're all human. It's easy to forget that as much humanity as is in me is in somebody else, somebody who has totally irritated me. When I forget someone else's humanity, I lose a little piece of my own because we're all connected. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to staunchly fight a viewpoint that is in opposition to you. But does it mean we have to surrender our humanity to do it? Does it mean that people stop being people? Does it mean that we have a right to dehumanize? And I'm sorry, the answer to those questions, in my humble opinion, is no. Anybody throwing a stone, is wrong. You can, you can decide, what, this person did something really wrong and really bad, and there are consequences. I am all about consequences. I support consequences. They help keep us sensible. And that doesn't mean that we have to dehumanize. That doesn't mean that we have to go into this mentality of, oh, this is another, and only one side gets to be right. Is also a part of compassion. the willingness to meet someone halfway, the willingness to, you know, if you're not willing to believe the best in a person, at least don't believe the worst in them. Because somewhere between the best and the worst is where we all are, all of us. That someone, you know, you sit and you hear somebody, you know, curse words, and it's easy to go into that place of, wow, you know, what a jerk, and all of this. And it turned out maybe they've got Tourette's syndrome, which means that they cannot control it. And if someone is dealing with something they can't control, yeah, you can have a little compassion for them. You know, someone doesn't understand a language very well. You can have compassion for them. If you've ever traveled, I've been blessed to be able to travel to a lot of places, and in many of them, English was not the primary language. And going into that situation where speaking another language, you know, I was dependent on interpreters, and maybe I had learned a few words, and but overall, vulnerability taught me a big lesson in compassion. Struggling to be able to comprehend me, then maybe I can meet them halfway. It doesn't take a lot. Yes, compassion demands a price, and it also makes us vulnerable. I mean, you know, nobody wants to get hurt. And if you're driving along and, you know, there's some you see, and, you know, well, maybe I'll pull over and help them, maybe not. What if it's a trap? What if this? Yeah, you got to consider those things. And stepping out and speaking up for somebody can also get you into trouble sometimes, especially if you're around somebody who has a different viewpoint and who really feels the need to make you wrong. When people are really solid in their viewpoints, I find that there's less of a demand to get somebody else to believe as they believe. I just find it that often people who maybe they've got a question in themselves, but they can be that much more adamant about what they believe. And they don't want to hear any opposing opinions. But you can't help but get them living in the world. No matter where you fall on politics, religion, social stuff, you're going to hear both sides at some point. So just embrace that, wow, you know what? Maybe there's stuff about this topic that I don't know. Maybe there's stuff about this topic that I haven't heard about. Maybe there's some new information that might change my mind, or it might not. But by allowing the possibility that there's always a chance for growth, there's to move forward, there's always a chance to learn more about something, and learning more about something also increases your compassion. You'll have a very inquisitive mind. And I know very few people who are not at least a little intrigued by solving a puzzle. Consider it a puzzle. What is the riddle? What is the way that we can find common ground? That we can find that place of compassion? That we can find a way to see not the worst in people. Them. I find that once I get to know people, especially people who have opposing viewpoints to mine, it us. You know, we talk, we joke. I have friends who are on every spectrum of political, religious viewpoints, from far right to far left, and whose opinions are the most different from mine. I know if I called them up at 3 o'clock and asked for help, they would be there, no question. And they know that if they called me at 3 o'clock in the morning and needed my help, that I would be there for them. It doesn't matter that we look at solving problems maybe that way. But what we have in common is mutual respect. What we have in common is caring about one another. What we have in common is to realize that while our opinions and feelings and viewpoints are a part of us, they're not all of us. Everything and all encompassing what someone believes. What they believe is not all of who they are. It's over for a particular viewpoint, in that little space right there. That's a part of it. But there's so much else. There's unbelievable depth to each person. And nobody is just what it's like thinking that people are one dimensional, which they aren't. And we're different because that's a good thing. We are better and stronger when people of different viewpoints are able to bring different ideas to the table when we're problem solving. Want to try to problem solve with a whole group of people exactly like me, because then we wouldn't see fresh eyes. We wouldn't see anything from that different viewpoint. When we can sit and talk together and say, wow, that's a viewpoint I hadn't considered. Thank you for sharing it with me. Peace, where we can be able to, get lost sitting looking at pictures of each other's pets and forget for a minute that we are, on opposite ends of a political or social scale. If your child gets lost and you see them and there's somebody who has made sure that they're okay and took them to store security or whatever and stayed with them to make sure that nobody's asking questions about political affiliations when somebody's kid's lost. People start looking at each other. And I think that that's the core instinct of people. Because I think deep down, if something happens, you always hear about somebody who just ran in and wanted to help. Whether it's a burning building or something is collapsed or whatever, suddenly become these amazing heroes who are willing to risk their lives to go in and take care of people they don't even know. They don't know you're a jerk. They just know you need help, and they're willing to risk themselves in order to help you. When we were having flooding and people were, reaching out and forming human chain to get people out of safety. Now, keep the rescuing to the professionals and donation where, you end up with more victims. But the idea that the desire is there, the wish is there to do amazing things. You see people, jumping in to help folks who are in trouble in the water, or a thing where a man scaled, like it was a video about this little child who had fallen hanging on, and this guy scales up the side of this building like Spider-Man and get the child to safety. But that person, this was just a stranger who saw something and acted in a way of compassion and protecting another human being, each other as another human being, even if somebody has pissed you off unbelievably, they're still a human being. Some is, just very arrogant or kind of a pain in the butt or bugs you. They're still a human being. Everyone still is owed a basic human dignity. And even if their actions mean did bad stuff and, you go away to jail and, think about it for a while, they're still human, because in this country, we decided that even criminals deserve humane treatment. We all deserve humane treatment. And if we can squeak that up just another notch to being able to say, you know what, I don't understand why this person is the way they are, but I'm willing to let them be the way they are if that works for them. I don't have to be the way they are. I don't have to believe what somebody else believes. I can be me, and I can appreciate being me, and I can have compassion for me. And I can accept someone else as being human, as being, my feeling is, or, it's a saying that we're all divine beings having a human experience. I'm willing to deal with somebody being human. I'm willing to be able to say, okay, that was not cool. And I don't have to deal with you. I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to, if you're saying something that I don't want to hear, I'm probably walking away. I won't wish any hardness on you. But if I say, you know what, I really don't feel like talking about this, and you want to continue talking about it, well, you'll probably be talking about yourself. I was myself. And that doesn't mean that I don't have compassion. I have choice, because we can have choice and compassion at the same time. Matter of everybody taking a breath and calming down and the stories in our heads. Because if we can do that, if we can let go, if we can say, hey, you know, maybe I've had a problem with certain groups, but not this person. Maybe historically there have been cultural, social, whatever stuff where, these are the bad guys and these are the good guys, or, this group has hurt this group. But to accept that people are individuals and unique, and that they're just as confused and scared and unsure, hesitant, and the thing is, even though being compassionate has its price, like I said, you got to give up judgment. You got to be willing to listen, make you a little vulnerable. But the gifts that we get from it are so much more. What we have to gain from it is so much more. World. Heck, picture a compassionate room, just one room of people say, well, really see why you feel the way you do, but I'd like to try. Would you explain it to me? Listen, if we can have even one room do that, and then maybe that room becomes a larger room, and maybe, who knows, where we learn to listen, we learn to accept, we learn to agree to disagree, and then dwell on the things that we do agree on. Find a way to pound. It's amazing when you think about what could happen if that were to start getting popular. So consider that maybe the person is just going through a really tough time. Maybe consider not every you is who they are. That everybody can have a lot of different sides to them, just like you. And that being human is one thing that will always bind us. You never know when you're going to be the car broken down on the side of the road, waving your arms and hoping that somebody will have just a little bit of compassion for you. Thank you for joining me. My deepest apologies for if this has been cutting in and cutting out. It may be the signal, I don't know, but thank you. Thank you for your compassion. And if you would like to support this rambling channel, that maybe every once in a while you hear something, wow, maybe that makes a little bit of sense from that weird lady in the hat. You can support by liking. You can subscribe. It's always cool to see the community grow. You can comment because I do check the comments and I do answer them. Also, follow me on Twitter because then that way you would get the morning tweets that I do. And it's just a little something to think about that each morning that kind of comes in that I share. You can group medicine walk with Dr. Eileen. And if you do that, you'll also get to see those tweets. And if you really, really, really want to help, then you can sponsor and go to my Patreon account. That is in the link or in the description. Anyway, thank you for this odd and bizarre, and I hope you have a wonderful one. But as always, I wish you balance and I wish you blessings from to yours. Love you.